Hello. We are live apparently. How's everyone doing? Good to see you. If you're here, please say hello in the chat. Say hi, who you are, where you're from. The aim of this hour is just to have a good chat really about all things music. Yes, you can ask me anything you like. And I have some ideas of subjects we could talk about, but also I'm happy to be led by you. So I've got the chat open here and I'll see what happens. And it's been a long day, so I'm having a beer. Cheers. Let me just kick things off by telling you about my day. Well, you might know that this month I'm making a video a day to share on YouTube. So this is my video for today, my live stream. So I've been very busy this month making videos. That's what I did this morning. Editing a video about my favorite chord. Yes, do you have a favorite chord? If you're a musician, you might. If you're not a musician, maybe you won't. But I have a favorite chord. That video is going to come out, I think, at the weekend. So watch out for that. Then this afternoon, lots of teaching. I teach piano and guitar, and drums, bass, composition. I teach all sorts of stuff, really. And yeah, I had about 5 hours of teaching this afternoon. Just had some dinner, ready for this live stream. So yes, one thing I thought I'd talk about to start with, just live music, right? Concerts, gigs. Have you seen any great live music recently? I'll share an experience in a moment, but yeah, if you've seen some good live music, whether it's a rock gig or a classical concert, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, that would be great to see. A very powerful live experience I had. It was a couple of months back now, I think, but it was seeing the Brodsky Quartet perform all of Shostakovich's string quartets at the Eastgate Theatre in Peebles. They performed all 15 of his string quartets over 5 concerts across a weekend. And it was such a powerful experience. Yeah. Such a journey to go on, right? These string quartets were obviously written over the course of decades, 30 years or more. So to hear them was to go on an immense musical journey. And they've done this before, the Brodsky. They're kind of known for it, doing this mammoth marathon performance of his string quartets. And I did my best to get to know them beforehand. I already knew some. Not being a string player, perhaps if I was a string player, I might have already been familiar with some of them. As a composer, I'm familiar with a few of the string quartets, but certainly not all 15. So I did my best to get to know, I listened to all 15 a few times before the concert. And yeah, that's going to stick with me. It's going to stick with me for a long time, I know. The first person in the chat. Hello, Dylan. Hello, thanks for coming along again. Good to see you. Well, good to hear from you. We'll see if anyone else turns up. I don't know how people get to know about these live streams, really. I shared it around a bit, but we'll see who joins. Yes, and one interesting thing about the Brodsky Quartet, who performed at this concert I've been mentioning, they all perform standing up, except the cellist, that'd be pretty hard to perform standing up. But it really, I like that. It lets them move a bit more. It just makes the music somehow a bit more vital, a bit more vivid, to have 3 out of the 4 standing up. And the cellist performs on a raised platform. So she's sitting down, so her head is the same height as the heads of the other players who are standing. So she feels part of it in that way, which is what you want, really. You don't want to be sitting down at the back while the other 3 are standing. You want to be with it. Yes. So yeah, concerts. Dylan, have you seen any good live music recently? That's the question we're starting with today. Good live music. I used to see all sorts. I used to see, bands, classical concerts most weeks, but now it's just hard to get out with the young children. I could go on my own. My wife could go on her own. We can't go together unless we get a babysitter. But then that isn't simple and it's more expensive. So Yeah, we don't get out to a whole lot. A few things when we can. As the kids grow up, we'll start taking them out with us to concerts, and that's going to be fun, I'm sure. Here's another light-hearted question to start us off, to get the conversation going. For anyone who's watching, do you have instruments that you love, you absolutely love, or instruments that you hate the sound of? Yeah, I think we all have a few on both sides, don't we? Sounds we love, sounds we hate. Let me know in the chat. I will say that, I mean, my main instruments I play are guitar and piano, right? And I love both those instruments, but in terms of just the pure sound quality, the timbre, it's hard to beat a cello, isn't it? I absolutely love the sound of the cello uh, and the viola as well. They just, to me, they're just beautiful because obviously they're string instruments. You can get a lovely vibrato, but they're so resonant because they're on deep or middle range, right? I like violin too, but in terms of pure timbre, cello, viola, I would say. Two of my favorites to listen to. What about you? Yeah? What about you? Let me know. Instruments I hate the sound of. Well, I will admit there are a few, but it depends, doesn't it? I want to say, apologists to any oboe players out there. I'm not a fan of the oboe, but in a big orchestral tutti section, you need the oboe, right? So yes, in an ensemble, absolutely, but solo, I'm sure it can be played massively, beautifully, very well. I know it can. I've heard it played very well. But yeah, for me, not a huge oboe fan. Also, the harmonica is one which surprises some people that I dislike. So you get acoustic guitarists who add a bit of harmonica. I'm not a fan of that sound. It just grates on me. Don't ask me why. Oh, it is nice to have a beer, I must say. So yes, favorite instruments, least favorite instruments, please let me know in the chat. And you can ask me anything about music. Just chip in. Don't be shy now. Do not be shy. This is a Q&A chance just to kick back and chat about music. Because if you're like me and you don't, I don't want to sound like a total loner, but I don't see other adults all that often in the evenings for social occasions because I've got young kids and because we live very rurally here in Scotland. It's nice just to chat to some adults. I'm around kids all the time because I teach music a lot. I teach adults too, which is fun. But yeah, let's just have a chat about music, and grown up talk about music. So fire things away in the chat. This is what this is about, really. Otherwise, you'll just have to listen to me blab on about whatever's coming into my brain, which I'm happy to do. I am happy to do, but I'd love to hear from you as well. Here's something else to talk about. Musical heroes. Musical heroes. Do you have a musical hero? Could be a favorite musician, favorite composer. Yeah, but hero means more than favorite, doesn't it? Because I could think of my favorite artists, but are they really my heroes? Some of them potentially might. It's possible that these weren't very nice people. Yeah. I'm sure Mozart had his bad moods, didn't he? Right? Was he a hero or not? Who knows? I do have a musical hero, I could say. I've thought of someone today. Dame Myra Hess. Are you familiar with Dame Myra Hess? Well, let me tell you a bit about her if you're not. She is incredible. She was incredible. Most people know her. If you know her, you probably know her from her piano transcription of J.S. Bach's Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring. Yeah, a beautiful piano piece that she transcribed from the Bach chorale. Really stunning. It's a favorite of piano players. I love to play it. Many people do. Anyway, during World War II, this is the reason she's my hero. During World War II in London, you could no longer have evening concerts during the Blitz because you had to have a blackout, right? You couldn't have concerts lit up at night. The Germans would know what was going on because of the lights in the night sky. So blackout at night time. Couldn't have evening concerts. But London wasn't going to submit to no music that easily. Not with people like Dame Myra Hess around, right? What did she do? She organized a series of weekday lunchtime concerts. Daily, I'm sure they were daily, at least during the week. Daily lunchtime concerts at the National Gallery. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many of these she organized. It's over 1,500 during World War II, during those 6 years or so. Over 1,500 lunchtime concerts she organized, and she personally performed at 150 of them. Over 150 of them. Isn't that incredible to keep music alive during the war? People think, oh, when really bad stuff's going down, like when there's a war, you might think, oh, well, music's not important. You know, the arts aren't important in wartime. But the opposite is true. They become even more important. They signify what is left of life. What are we fighting for? I think, didn't Churchill say something along those lines? Like, what are we fighting for, if not to preserve the best of our culture? So yeah, thanks to people like Dame Myra Hess, music stayed alive in London during the Blitz, and all manner of musicians performed at the Portrait Gallery during this time. So yes, I think music, poetry, these things matter even more during difficult times, and indeed in our own lives when we're going through tough times. Isn't it incredible we have things like music as a solace for us? Yeah, that's another question I could ask. Are there any compositions that really have helped you through tough times, or just that resonate massively with you? Yeah. Yes, Dylan. I think. Well, I hope you're not alone too. But it's looking pretty quiet, isn't it? Maybe I've picked a bad time. It's 8 p.m. here in Scotland. What time is it where you are, Dylan? Um, yeah, the previous live stream I did. What time did I do that? Here it was like something like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Maybe that was a better time. But I'll persevere. I'm here with my beer, and others may well join soon. But yes, Dylan, maybe it's just me and you, but you can at least join in with the chat. And 2 p.m. for you. Okay. So is it beer o'clock? Maybe not quite yet for you. Well, yes, if you have any responses to what I've been chatting on about, then please let me know. Or ask me something. Yeah. Yes, Dylan, I know you sent me a film to watch, didn't you? And I'm sorry I haven't watched it yet. Life is just crazy busy right now. And it's like, can I sit down for half an hour? I will. I don't want to watch it. I will watch it. So I haven't forgotten about it. Hold me to it. Remind me. I do want to watch the film of yours you sent to me. Yes. All right. Something else. Do chip in, Dylan. But I've got things I can get off my chest about music. Structure. Yeah, the structure of music, the structure of songs I'd like to talk about. Doesn't it get a bit tiresome when you're hearing another song? And I'm generally talking about popular songs or, rock songs, whatever, folk songs. The structures are a little tired sometimes, aren't they? We're used to hearing a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a bridge, maybe a double chorus at the end. We're used to these things, and they can work, but isn't it nice when someone does something a little different? Through composed, right? It's nice when things are through composed and just aren't tied to these tired structures. An album I've loved recently, in the songwriting kind of vein, is an album called Essex Honey by Blood Orange. Blood Orange is one of the recording names of the musician Dev Hynes. And what I love that he does is he just lets the songs lead wherever they will. So he sets up a section of music, and it's going along, and it lasts as long as it should. Maybe there's some repetitions there. It lasts as long as it should, and then it changes inevitably into a different section. That lasts as long as it should, and there's no reason to return to the previous section, right? He sometimes just does like a section A, section B, section C, and that's it, maybe, right? Or maybe sometimes he might return to A, but he's not tied to any structures. He lets the songs develop as they will, and they keeps them fresh. Keeps them fresh, and you never know what's going to happen next. Sometimes at the end, he just randomly does something absolutely random for the last 10 seconds, or he goes into a different key without any setup or preparation. It's just boom, you're into a new section in a new key for like a short amount of time, and it can be jarring, but at least it's interesting and imaginative, and you're not just repeating sections because that's what everyone else does. Yes, Dylan, you've said you're always yearning for unusual and imaginative chord progressions. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. How many songs consist primarily of an incessant repetition of 4 cliched chords? Yeah, you said it. You said it exactly. Although, isn't it true to say that the best songwriters or composers can take these cliched chords and still do something interesting with them? That's the dilemma we have, I think. But you can tell in the songwriting, can't you? If it's lazy songwriting, you know they've reached for those chords. You know, Dylan, what instrument do you play? By the way, do you play an instrument? I was thinking about guitar chords, and chords that are used in so many songs would be like C, G, A minor, F, right? 1, 5, 6, 4. Oh man, they can get very, very tired unless they're in the hands of a genius, in the hands of an artist, right? With a capital A. But it's just laziness. I can't. Laziness really shines through, doesn't it? And it's very off-putting. But not everyone can hear that. People, understandably, I suppose. Yeah. So I think the wider you spread your listening habits, the more likely you are to pick up an ear for this stuff. Yeah. So you played saxophone in high school and piano recently. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice. I've never played saxophone. My sister, she's tried all manner of instruments. Saxophone was one of them, along with clarinet and many others. But yeah, piano. The thing with piano is it's so useful, isn't it? All the keys are laid out. We can play chords, unlike the saxophone. It's very, very useful. It's a useful instrument to also understand the theory, because it's all laid out so nicely. You can figure out how chords work, how cadences work. You can see it all there. Unlike a saxophone, just different fingerings for the different notes. Yes, things that are through composed, and this exists a lot in both in the classical world and the popular world, right? You get albums like, I mentioned this on the on my last live stream, but I'm a fan of the band called the Mars Volta, and their debut album, Die Last in the Comatorium, is an incredible album, and it's largely through composed. It's a concept album. It goes all the way through 60 or 70 minutes. I forget exactly how long. There is the odd repetition of, okay, oh yes, maybe we have a chorus section in a certain song, but it just keeps going, and it's an incredible journey. And it's the, you sit with this album, and it affects you, and it draws you in, and it doesn't let you go till the end. It's a really powerful experience. Unlike an album of, say, 12 songs where they all do verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro, and they're not related to each other. It's boring. It's unimaginative. Yes. Anyway, still just me and you, Dylan. I think. But maybe what I should do, I should figure out. I should do a poll and ask people what is a good time for a live stream. Maybe I should do that next. Aha. What's this from you, Dylan, now? Concerning the beauty of simplicity or cliches, I feel like it certainly can be done in a fresh manner when wielded by a unique artist, but I feel like there's so much area for exploration in chromatic progressions. The inclusion of more than 4 chords. Yes. Yeah, exactly. We don't just need 4 chords, do we? Yeah, absolutely right. And it feels like, now I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like, oh, things were better back in the day, because I'm not that. I mean, I'm not even that old, right? I'm in my mid to late 30s. I don't want to sound like I'm in my 60s, but I think it's true that songwriting, the songs that rose to the top of the charts in the 1960s and 1970s, often had a wider musical palette. They often had more than 4 chords, right? Whereas now, I think it is true to say things are getting simpler in the popular music charts. Yeah, I think that's a fact. What's happening there, I don't want to speculate, but I'm a fan. Yeah, I'm a fan of songwriters who use more than 4 chords. You don't need to, right? But it can be incredible. Um, there's a song I have in mind I've just thought of. I think it's called "She's Only a Woman to Me." Is that right? "She's Only a Woman" by Billy Joel. I knew this by the Fife Dangerfield cover. But this has, I don't know how many chords it has, but it may be more than 12. Yeah, it's great. It's a really nice, just lovely, well-written kind of ballad. Um, and yeah, it goes through all these different chords, modulating and taking us on this journey. Yeah. Um, yes, chromatic progressions you mentioned, Dylan. Um, yeah, I like it when we suddenly have well, here's two ideas I like about chords. Um, I'm a fan personally of moving to a flattened second chord, right? So you're in your key, so you're in C major, moving around normal chords, but then we at some point we hit a D flat major. Whoa, where's that come from, right? Flattened second, also known as the Neapolitan chord in classical music. Yeah, and that at least has one note in common with the scale of C major. It has the fourth degree F is in the flattened second major chord, D flat major, D flat F, A flat. That's a nice chord to move to. It surprises the ear, but it has that tiny continuity because of this shared note, especially if the previous chord you've used has that note in, perhaps. I like that. And I like it where you take a chord, you have a chord, right? Let's say G major. Maybe you're in the key of C, playing a G major chord, and you take one of those notes in G major, G, B, or D, and you just treat that as a tone in a totally different chord that's not in your key. So let's say we're in G major and we take the note G, yeah, and you think, okay, what other chords have a G in? E flat major has a G in. So we could kind of use that G as a line of continuity to get us to a chord not in our key. That's something else I enjoy. Another question. I'm sorry it's still just us, Dylan. But hey, it's a tete-a-tete. It's a mano, right? Just the two of us. Do you think music as an art form has a lot more to explore in terms of form? That's a good question. Let me just think about it while I enjoy this cold beverage here. I often wonder about form. From a personal perspective, I often feel I'm weakest in terms of form in my own compositions because I don't just want to follow. I don't see the point necessarily in just following the old styles of form, right? So I could do sonata form, I could do rondo form, this, that, or the other, themed variations. Um, but then I think, well, what else, right? There must be other things we can do in terms of form, don't you think? There must be, because how you structure something can have almost an infinite number of possibilities. Um, but I think the idea of form, it's all to do with the dichotomy between repetition and novelty, isn't it? It's to do with how many times do we want to return to an idea? How often do we want to have a new idea? And as a listener, if you do the extremes of repetition where we get minimalism, which some people like, others absolutely hate, minimalism pushed to its extreme, it becomes incredibly dull, right? Or we could, or you want repetition. What about Eric Satie's piano piece, Vexations? It's a short piece and you're meant to play it how many times in a row? It's something like 840 times, is it? 740 times in a row? That's too much, right? That's too much. Or if it's pure novelty all the time, it's truly through composed and it's constantly fresh, that might be interesting, but could it last for a whole hour without any repetition? Maybe, and people have done it, but you kind of want a balance. An idea I had, which I did it for one piano piece. I didn't continue this idea because it's not really a new idea. An idea I had for form is, okay, it's to do with it's to do with a journey. It's to do with the idea of, imagine journeying through a forest. I was imagining what it would be like living hundreds of years ago as a, who knows, as a peasant or someone living in, rural communities. You're journeying through a forest, right? You don't know, you don't know what you're going to find, right? I'm thinking you're in the year 1100. Who knows? So you're journeying through the forest, kind of ominous, right? You reach a clearing. The sky opens up. Yeah. Something happens there. And then you journey back through the forest again. I just had this idea and thought that could be a good musical structure. So there's the kind of three sections. I mean, you could just call it ABA. What I'm kind of getting at is an ABA, which is not new. It's very ancient, but it's this journey through the forest, which gives you a kind of feeling as well, right? You're journeying through, you emerge into the clearing, and you have like a clear melodic idea, right? And then you journey out again. So then that's the musical structure I messed around with for one composition. Didn't come back to it. An incredibly simple idea, obviously. So I don't know. What do you think about form? Do you think there's more to explore? There must be more to explore, right? But not many. There's not exactly hundreds of form options out there, are there? I suppose there are if you look hard enough. But I feel it's one of my weakest areas. I'd like to do some more experiments with form, really. Here's something I'm jealous of. I wish I could do this. I was listening to a podcast about Arvo Pärt, the Estonian composer. You may well know about him. He was writing works as a 20-year-old, 30-year-old. He was writing stuff. But then I think in his 30s, I believe in his 30s, he suddenly took about 7 years off, something like that, just to look inside himself and figure out what is my true style, right? Who am I musically? Let's just take 7 years to figure out what my musical style is. Wow. I wish I could take 7 weeks to figure out my musical style, let alone 7 years. I feel like with every new composition, I'm always writing it to the clock, and I'm just, I wish I had more time to devote to figuring out my style, doing experimentations with form and all this stuff. 7 years, unbelievable. Let me catch up with your last few comments, Dylan. And if anyone else is here, please do say hello in the chat. You can interrupt mine and Dylan's discussion we're having. Dylan, you've said this ties into the conversation about what true originality is. Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? I'm always amazed by looking at Bach's fugues. I've tried composing a few, and it is so damn hard. I didn't even come close to succeeding. Yeah, I know the feeling. They are amazing, Bach's fugues. Honestly, apart from at university, I haven't tried to write any fugues since university. I probably should, because it would be a very good musical exercise in counterpoint. In developing the fugal style of counterpoint. But I guess I feel like, inevitably my fugues are going to be nowhere near. They'll have nothing new to offer the world, because so many composers, Bach especially, has already done that to death. So it would be a fantastic exercise for me. I probably should do it, but yes, I don't think it's not going to generate something the world will want to hear. Yeah. Yes. Well, I was going to do an hour. I don't have to do a whole hour, but I'm enjoying our chat, Dylan, and can keep going. Maybe someone else will join as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll be bombarded in the next 5 minutes with a new team of commenters here. But yes, back. I want to talk about back to form. Something that just works well, I think, is a kind of cyclical form, right? You start with something, you go on the journey, like I said before, and you end up, but you make a circle, right? The ending joins the beginning somehow. Many people have done this in literature as well as in music, right? The famous literary example is the novel Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce. I use the term novel loosely, but it starts mid-sentence, and then it ends mid-sentence. And if you join the last sentence up, it makes a circle with the first sentence, so you can keep reading the book indefinitely, which I think is incredible. Other songs and albums have done this. Joanna Newsom. I forget if it's her whole album or just the first track, but one of her tracks does that exact thing. Oh yes, the first word is sending. The word sending is the first lyric she sings, and at the end of this track, end of this song, she sings the word transcend over and over. Transcend, 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 and she ends on trans, which would join up with the first word sending, transcending. So it could be looped as well. I like that concept. I think that's just, there's something quite natural about the circle. What's this latest comment, Dylan? I feel like the term classical music encompasses so many styles of music, ranging from Baroque, counterpoint to late Romantic works. Yeah. Yes, the term classical is quite useless. I mean, there's two terms, right? There's classical with a capital C, which is music of Mozart and his contemporaries, which comes after the Baroque and before Romantic music. But then there's the small c classical, which people just use to mean any type of kind of, what do they mean? Western art music, things with an orchestra. It's so broad. It can encompass solo piano pieces to full orchestral works in any style, as you say, from the Renaissance through to modernism, right? Classical music. It's a useless term, but we have to have some terms, I suppose. Labels, right? Even when you say pop music, it's like the term pop music or popular music. That's pretty useless too. Pop music. I mean, was Led Zeppelin the pop music of its day? Are the Beatles pop music? Ed Sheeran, pop music? Yes. What does it mean? Songs, I suppose. Songs that are on the radio. But yeah, if you say, oh yeah, I like classical music, that's kind of like saying, well, yeah, I mean, I like colors. It's such a broad category. Yeah, I like food. Yeah, it's like saying, I like food. Oh, okay. You like classical music? What kind? And then you might say, oh, well, I'm particularly into, late Romantic music. Oh, okay. Do you like food? Yes. Oh, I'm particularly into Indian cuisine, right? Yes. One thing I've been thinking about doing more of is actually reading biographies of composers in order to get inspired and to learn more about them. Because when you get a good, I don't know if you've read any biographies, Dylan, of composers or anyone else, but I find when you get a truly well-written biography, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's like stepping into someone's life, isn't it? It's like kind of vicariously experiencing their life over the course of a few hundred pages. Some good ones I've read in the last year have been Berlioz wrote a great autobiography. Of course, if you're going to write an autobiography or a memoir, you have to be a very good writer. And of course, not every composer is a good writer, but Berlioz is fantastic, very, very amusing and insightful about his own life. Of course, it's skewed. If you're writing about your own life, you're going to be biased. There's no getting away from it, is there? That was a great biography. Uh, I really want to read. I, there's a great one about the life of Liszt, which I've been recommended. I haven't read that yet, but I want to read that. I read a great one about Debussy's life. I forget the name of the author. But yeah, it inspires me. Of course, you want to go and listen to all their music while you're reading about their life. I wonder what other great composer biographies are out there. There have to be loads. There's usually like a definitive one, isn't there, about each composer. Or this is the one that everyone thinks is the best biography. In terms of literature, hands down, the best biography I've ever read is Richard Ellman's biography of James Joyce. I mentioned Finnegan's Wake already. I will admit to being a huge James Joyce fan. You may know that, you may not, but not many, but several of my compositions are inspired by the works of James Joyce. And yeah, Richard Ellman's biography gets to the heart of the man in a way that feels both. It feels both. In one way, it's scientific. It's like very accurate and very precise in almost a clinical way. But that's not right to say that, because also he gets to the soul of the man, and we get to know. Well, we get to know what makes him tick, and what makes his art so powerful. So he's kind of somehow getting the scientific and the artistic together, if that makes sense. Yes, reading about music. I love to do, yeah, and listening to podcasts about music. It's just there's only so many hours in the day, right? If let's say we sleep for 7 or 8 hours. I mean, I'm probably getting 6 at the moment because of getting up early with the kids. But yeah, maybe we sleep for 7 hours. Maybe we have to work for 8 hours. Then we have to eat. We have to do this. We have to do that. How many hours are left to like follow our creative pursuits or our interests, right? Maybe if we're lucky, there's 3 or 4 hours left today. So any scrap of time I can get to learn more about music, I try to take, because it's a never-ending topic. Dylan, you're in your 20s, aren't you? I think were you 20? Are you 20 years old? You have a decade and a half on me, but a lifetime isn't enough to learn everything there is to learn about music, is it? So yeah, podcasts about music. If I'm doing the washing up, loading the dishwasher in the evening, that gets me 20 minutes of a music podcast. Driving, if I'm driving on my own, which isn't very often, there's some more time. I enjoy running. There's more time to listen to podcasts. If there is anyone else here, by the way, do ask any questions you like about music. Yeah, we're having a chat about music. Anything goes. I'm going to see this through till 9 here for the full hour. Started at 8 p.m. I will finish at 9. Yeah, please do say hello and join the discussion about music, such a massive topic. And of course, I'm coming from inevitably, of course, I'm coming to this from a Western perspective. That's my background. That's where I live. So I'm talking about, Western music, classical music, pop music, whatever. I'm not an expert in music from around the world, of various places. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be this empty, says Dylan. Me too, because we had a handful on the first one, didn't we? Must have had 7 or 8 people. Bad time of day, perhaps. Never mind. I might try again. Maybe I'll give it a couple of weeks. Might try again. But still, just nice to chat. Nice to think about music. Life's so busy, isn't it? Here's a question for you, Dylan. What are your musical goals for the next 5-10 years? Yeah, if you think ahead, what would you like to have achieved in the next 5 or 10 years? While you're thinking about that, I suppose I'll try to answer it. It's hard, isn't it? I want to keep composing. That's my big aim, is to be the best composer I can be. So I would love to have written some big works I'm really proud of, whether that's pieces for orchestra. It doesn't have to be for a big ensemble. It could just be piano pieces, but a set of piano pieces I'm really proud of that other people perform. That's something I'd love to do. Get other professional musicians to perform my compositions, and to want to, to enjoy them. That's an ongoing goal, and it happens. It happens occasionally. I'm pleased to say people do perform my stuff, but not all that often. I'd like more people to perform my works and get joy from them. I'd also like to become a better piano player. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm decent. I'm pretty good. If I'm being honest, I'm pretty good enough to teach and perform. But one can always get better. And I'm not a world-class concert pianist. I never will be. I'll never be a world-class concert pianist. But I'd always like to have the aim to continue to improve on piano and guitar. Well, on guitar as well, but piano. I do also wonder. I mean, I have this idea to learn a new instrument. I probably shouldn't, but I'm tempted. I'd love to learn a string instrument, violin, viola, or cello, because I don't play any of those, but I love writing for them. And I feel that if I did play one of them, my writing would improve for these instruments. Also, I'd just love to anyway. I'd love to be able to play the cello. It would be incredible. I have a wish that one of my children ends up playing the cello, viola, or violin. In fact, what would be amazing, I've got 3 kids. It'd be amazing if they each end up playing one on cello, one on viola, one on violin. Wow, I could write music for them to play. They could be my in-house musicians. Now, I can't force them to do this. I wouldn't dream of forcing them, but I could strongly encourage them, couldn't I? I could strongly encourage them to play these instruments. Yes, Dylan, what do you think then? I'm waiting to hear from you. What are your musical goals and dreams and ambitions for the next 5 to 10 years? You've answered me. Musical goals. Dylan, you've said, I'd love to say that my goals involve learning several works from Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, and hopefully creating some compositions. Nothing too specialized, I guess. Yeah. This is on piano, I'm guessing. Yeah, learn several pieces by Bach, Mozart, Beethoven on piano and writing your own stuff. That's awesome, man. I think that's great. Yeah, I'd love to learn, actually. I'd like to increase my repertoire of piano pieces and learn a few more, learn at least a couple more of Beethoven's piano sonatas, because they're lovely, but they are massive and they take a lot of time to learn. I'm good at learning bits of them, but it's rare I get the chance to play through a whole one, and let alone perfect a whole one. God, if I do play a whole one through, there's lots of thorny sections for sure. I'd love to get even one of Beethoven's piano sonatas absolutely as note perfect as I could get it. I'd love to do that. Yeah, great. Well, if you do write more, Dylan, you have to let me know. Like, send me your stuff. I'd love to hear it. I really would. Yes. And I wonder, something else I'd like to do, actually, maybe you do as well, is just to meet more local musicians, like decent musicians, musicians who care about improving and care about performing, care about bringing compositions to life. I would love to make new connections. I have connections, some, but yeah, we moved here 5 years ago to where we are in Scotland, in the Scottish borders, and it was the COVID pandemic. Then we started having children. My wife started having children. So yeah, feels like I'm not as plugged in as I might be into the actual musical scene here. I'm getting there, though. Getting there. Yes. One idea I've had. Let me share this idea with you, Dylan. Tell me if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. So I've got this thought of writing maybe just one piano piece or a few, handful, but let's say writing one piano piece, but taking the same piece and then writing it at different skill levels. So you can imagine there's the beginner version of this work, then there's the intermediate version, then there's the advanced version, and then there's like the virtuosic version, right, of a single piece. So you announce it and you say, this is my new work. It's called whatever. It's called such and such. And look, if you are here's the version for the concert pianists out there. But if you're a beginner, fear not. You can still play a version of this at your level, at grade 1, grade 2 level. Here it is, right? Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? I don't know. I'm just, because what I find is around here anyway, in Scotland, there's quite a bit of support for trying to, there's a lot of support for community music making, right? Community music making, and that means working with amateur musicians, people who might not necessarily, be amazing at their instruments, but they're passionate, and that's great. There's lots of support for that. There's less support, I find, for working with professionals, I suppose, because they think, well, professionals are already professional, they don't need support, right? So yeah, I think if I could write some pieces that could plug into this amateur world of musicians, which is great, easier versions of stuff, but still have the high level thing to be available to any professionals if they wish. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm still hoping. Is there going to be anyone else here? It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, Dylan? Be interesting to see if anyone else does pop up in the chat. But if you are just about to join or are joining now, ask a question, say hello, and please say something in the chat, and we'll turn this two-parter into a three-parter. Huh? How would I go about it? Dylan asks. How would I go about it? Do you mean in terms of actually composing the piece or approaching people about it? I mean, in terms of composing it, I think I'd start at the top level. I'd start with the most complex version of the piece, which I guess would be the most interesting version of the piece. So I'd write the full proper piece at a high level. I mean, it doesn't have to be a virtuosic work, but I'd write it as I would wish it to be in its absolute best form. Done. And then I'll just start to simplify it, but hopefully not to its detriment. Hopefully, so it would still be a decent piece. Yeah, just start to simplify it in stages, right? Simplify until we're left with a single chord for your real beginners out there, and then a single note, right, at the end of the process. I think I'd do it that way. It'd be much better to do it that way, wouldn't it? And start with a very simple piece and try to make it more complicated. I think I prefer to do the other way around. Yeah. Yes, well, it's sad times. Because I finished my beer, unfortunately, which means I got to wait. I'm not going to go and get another one. I'm going to wait 12 minutes until I finish this lovely chat we're having. Then I might treat myself to one more. But I do have to do another hour or so of video editing now to make sure I've got another video to come out tomorrow. Oh, it's relentless, this video challenge, I tell you. I will not be continuing it forever. It's been fun and interesting to do a video a day this month, but I can't keep up with it for any longer than a month. My wife would not be happy for one. Yeah. A top-down method would be interesting, Dylan says. The bottom-up method would be quite a challenge, starting with a motive and expanding it. That would be challenging. What did I do once? Dylan, I wonder if you saw this. Perhaps not. About a year or two ago, I composed a very short section of a piece. I think it was, I forget, maybe it was 8 bars. 8 bars of piano piece. I put it online, and I said to pianists and composers, I said, look, I'd love for you to, well, it was mainly pianists I was talking to. I said, take this 8 bars and please send me your rendition of it. But I was very clear to say to them, look, you can play it as written, but you can also improvise around it. You can embellish it. You can make it your own. So that's kind of like taking a motif and expanding upon it. I didn't put any dynamics on the score. I didn't put any articulation on the score, no tempo. It was just notes. And that was great. I got about 12 or 15 performances sent back, and I made a video about it. It's on my YouTube channel somewhere. And that was fascinating. Lots of people just played the notes as written, but they made up their own dynamics and articulation and tempo. But a few people went totally off-piste and really brought something new to the table and developed it. One person did something which I felt like had absolutely no link to my 8 bars whatsoever, which made me laugh and I enjoyed it. But I also thought, well, what is the link here? Have you just done a random improvisation and sent it to me? Uh, yes. Yeah, maybe I might do that again. That was really fun to actually collaborate with some other people, pianists in this case. Yeah. Um, what I had another idea a while ago on this theme. Yeah, I think it was to. Oh yes, imagine this. Imagine you write 8 bars of music, and you send the 8th bar to a different composer, and you say, "Look, here's my 8th bar. Continue." So they see where you are, but they don't see the previous 7 bars. So they see the 8th bar. They write 8 more. They send someone else their 8th bar, which is now the 16th bar, and so on, right? And it could go around to a group of different composers, or it could be 2 composers back and forth. And that would be, this would be a through composed piece, right? Especially if it was 8 different composers. Inevitably, it would be through composed by design, by definition. If it was 2 composers back and forth multiple times, well, then you could bring back your own ideas, possibly, couldn't you? I might try to do that. That fascinates me. That would be really interesting, wouldn't it? It'd probably be quite a strange sounding piece, but at least there would be continuity in the key, or roughly, because you'd see where the previous composer ended up. Yes. Yeah. Well, we've got about 9 minutes to go here. I wonder if anyone else is silently watching and not chatting. I'm not sure. But hey, I tell you what, though, this has just been good just to get my own thoughts going around. So thank you, Dylan, and to anyone else watching, because it's reminding me of things I'd half forgotten about. This is what happens when you get an hour. You get an hour just to think and talk about music. You don't know where the conversation will lead. So anyway, so far, the only person to thank for this is Dylan. You get 100%, Dylan, of my thanks, my appreciation. I'm not being sarcastic. People often, with the Brits, right, us British folk here have a reputation for being sarcastic, and I can be sarcastic, but people also sometimes think I'm being sarcastic when I'm not being sarcastic. So I'm not being sarcastic when I say I appreciate you being here, Dylan. It's nice to have a chat across the pond, right, across the Atlantic. But yes, I think that's something that sometimes Brits and Americans can cause issues, because Americans can sometimes, not always, but they can sometimes not get sarcasm or understand it incorrectly, and maybe the Brits are just being a bit obtuse about it. But I've had many run-ins with Americans where sarcasm hasn't gone down well. It's been misinterpreted, basically, because I did after my master's degree, me and a few friends, we did was it a 6-week or 8-week road trip around America? We must be nearly 2 months driving around the States. We did a huge triangle. We started in San Francisco. We drove all the way to Maine. We drove all the way down to New Orleans and all the way back to San Francisco in a massive triangle. It was incredible. 5 of us, two of whom were Americans who had come to the UK to study music. So we started from their house, or from one of their houses in San Francisco. So 2 Americans, 3 Brits, American road trip. We were 21 or so, 22. Wow, it was great. And speaking of music, New Orleans. Have you ever been, Dylan, to New Orleans? We had such a good time. We turned up on I think it was a Tuesday at mid-afternoon. And I thought to myself, Tuesday mid-afternoon, it will probably be quite quiet here in New Orleans, surely. It's not exactly Saturday night, but it wasn't. It was heaving. It was heaving. And every venue we went in, there was such a great band playing, top quality musicians everywhere. You've been, Dylan, to New Orleans? Yes. Well, I loved it. We spent 2 days there. Wasn't enough. Absolutely loved it. Oh, hello. We have someone else in the chat. Incredible. Hello, you were here last time as well, weren't you? Bombfimdism says, "Hi, I've been thinking about something. It seems music has become more grounded to reality with time, hasn't it? It went from pure music to songs with actual stories told through lyrics. Interesting." Um, do you think? Do you think? I mean, there have been songs around for a long time. Songs have to be about something, right? Even songs way back, church songs, right? They were always about something, about praising God. So I guess, yeah, really it's to do with lyrics versus instrumental music. Um, I mean, they've always been both, really, haven't there? Yeah, there's been church music with sung church music. Probably we've had that for such a long time, haven't we? And then, well, back to the ancient Greeks and beyond, right? Every culture has singing, right? Nearly every culture has had singing, and therefore we need lyrics. So I would say there's always been stories told through lyrics, um, but yes, one people have disagreements about this, don't they? We could say this is the difference between absolute and program music, right? Some people think absolute music is the best, right? There should be no program, there should be no story, right? Is that what you're kind of getting at? We don't need stories, we just need pure music, some people think. But others say, no, it's nice to have a program, nice to have a story. Even in instrumental music, we can have a story told through instrumental music, right? Um, Dylan, you've said you really want to go to the UK. Yeah, it's great. Come along. Well, there's like anywhere, there's good parts and bad parts. But well, if you ever come, let me know. If you ever come to Scotland, come and say hello. Come and meet me in Edinburgh. Yes, we're coming into our last few minutes here. The last 4 or 5 minutes. Bombfimdism. Tell me how I should say your name, by the way. Bombfimdism says, "Oh yes, of course. There's Beethoven's Sixth and Shostakovich's 11th, and so on. And church music was more about the transcendental." I see. Yes. So you're saying you think nowadays music's more, yeah, tied to reality about more trivial matters? Is that what you're getting at? Whereas you'd go back a long time, it was more transcendent, something more pure about that. Is that what you're getting at? Maybe you're right. Yeah, that could be the case. But still, I think you can, it's possible, isn't it, to write about something seemingly trivial with lyrics, but still ends up saying something profound. And likewise, you could have some very badly written like you could have some badly written church music, couldn't you, that tries to be transcendental but doesn't quite pull it off. Yeah, I like both absolute and program music, but for me as a composer, I can't help. I helplessly end up going for the program. I love to have a story, not a story, but I like to have something inspiring my music. Whether often it's a poem or a book, a work of literature, or a painting or something. Um, uh, Bombfimdism says kind of like that, but more that many pieces didn't actually mean anything. It was just music for its own sake. Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah. So you're obviously talking about instrumental music here. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. And that's great, isn't it? That music doesn't have to have a story to it. We appreciate it for itself. It's kind of commenting on itself, right? You listen to a piece of pure music. It's musical notes interacting with more musical notes, to state the obvious. And it's kind of like it's emerging from itself, which is quite a beautiful idea, isn't it? You hear a theme, and then what you're hearing next is that very same theme developing itself. Of course, a composer's done the work, but it's not telling this story. People used to, tell Liszt off for this. The critics said, "Oh, Liszt doesn't know his musical forms. He's just trying to tell stories through music. It's a load of rubbish." Back to form. Dylan and I were talking about form earlier. Well, more people are joining just as we're getting to the end. We're nearly at 9 o'clock now. I'm just looking at the chat again. I'm glad, Bombfimdism, that there's no particular way to pronounce your username. It's a mixture of different languages. So interesting. I wonder which ones. And Dylan has said, have you figured out the banana joke yet? No, I think I haven't figured it out. I don't know if there is a right answer. I made this silly video where I asked ChatGPT to come up with some classical music jokes. A few of them made sense, but a lot of them just didn't make any sense whatsoever. For example, what was it? What was Beethoven's favorite fruit? Bananas was the answer, because they're always in A flat. Anyone get that? That is a load of pure drivel, as far as I can tell. But maybe someone else can enlighten me. Hello, Duncan. Got someone new in the chat. I'm about to finish any moment now, but I'll keep going for a few minutes while we've got some people here. But Dylan, in case you're going to go, thanks for being here, Dylan. It's been great to talk, great to catch up. I wish you all the best with your ongoing musical development. Duncan, how is life in Scotland? It's good, thank you. I love Scotland. It's a wonderful country. It's a beautiful countryside, lovely people, and quiet. I'm in the Scottish borders here. It's a lovely, quiet pace of life. Where do you live, Duncan? And someone else called Dusk is saying hello, everyone. Hello, Dusk. Where are you commenting from? Yes, I'll do another 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to go. I'll have to go, I'm afraid, soon. The Motor City. Now, what do you mean by that? If you're in America, do you mean Detroit? I wonder where you mean. You have to be more specific. Yeah, I know, Dylan. It is unfortunate timing. But oh well. I can overrun a little bit because it's nice to chat to people. Yeah. Right, I was right with Detroit, was I? Yeah. Have I been to Detroit? I've been to Michigan. Detroit's in Michigan, right? I don't think we went to Detroit. No, we went to I want to say Traverse City. Yeah, is that right? Is that in Michigan? Am I getting my American geography correct? Could be wrong. Apologies if I'm wrong. But yeah, honestly, when I was in America, I mentioned to Dylan earlier, I did a road trip around America just after my master's, and we had the best time. This was back in 2010, I think it would have been. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. And almost everyone we met in America over nearly 2 months was absolutely lovely, friendly, warm, welcoming. 98% of people were absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I'm fond of America, fond of Scotland as well, and England, the whole of the UK. But yeah, like anywhere, yes, there's issues in the UK, there's issues in America, right? It's not all perfect, but I think most people at heart, whatever our backgrounds, we're decent people, most of us, aren't we? Yes. Back to music here. It's getting serious. Bombfimdism said, "Hey, what's your opinion on Mahler right now?" What happened with Mahler, says Dusk. Mahler, honest to God, I'm undereducated in Mahler's music. When I've listened to his works before, I've sat and listened to a few of his symphonies in the past. I haven't connected massively with them, to be honest. I haven't. But I feel, as time moves on, generally I'm getting my opinion to Mahler is improving, and I want to have another go. Maybe I kind of want to listen to his last symphony, strangely. Maybe that's the wrong one to go for first. But I kind of feel like I want to get to know his final symphony as best as I can. I reckon if you ask me again in 1 or 2 years, I'll be a convert. I don't know. People have very strong feelings about Mahler. I've met some insane Mahler fans. Are you a big Mahler fan? I saw a great comedy show, believe it or not, about Mahler at Soho Theatre many years ago, just about someone who was absolutely fanatically obsessed with Mahler. It was a comedy show where it was funny, as you would hope, but it was also very moving, and very genuine, which I think it's hard to get those three things all at the same time, isn't it? Funny, moving, and genuine. Yes. Well, we've got a small group of people here, which, as I said, I'll do 5 more minutes. So yeah, if you have any last questions to do with music, please ask. Please ask before I sign off. I've been here for over an hour, and the questions are only just coming in now from anyone else except Dylan. So you're all late to the party, but I thank you for being here nonetheless. Don't think me rude, not rude. It's actually fashionable to turn up to a party late, isn't it? So I should have known. Dusk has a question. Please fire away. Do fire away. I'll almost certainly leave at 9:10 here in Scotland. That's in 5 minutes. So we have 5 minutes for any more questions here. Before I can go grab another beer. Okay, some people self-describe. This is Dusk's question. Some people self-describe as modern classical composers. Is classical music a concluded genre, so to speak, or is it continuing? And that's a great question, genuinely. Very good question. It depends how you define classical, as Dylan and I were saying earlier on in this chat. Classical music with a capital C is music composed in a certain era, right? After the Baroque, before the Romantic, the most famous classical composer is Mozart. But people also mean classical with a small c, just any kind of Western art music, maybe with an orchestra or orchestral instruments. No, classical music isn't classical with a small c. It's not concluded. People still compose in, small c classical music of different kinds, right? Now, in one area, in the universities, people are pushing classical music to its absolute limits, where it's incredibly avant-garde, and to most people's ears, to the lay listeners' ears, it's just noise. This has been going on for 100 years now, right? We're pushing music to its absolute limits. Some of these experiments are very worthwhile, and I think very interesting. Others, I think, are people. It's not developing anything valuable, shall we say? But there are still people now, including myself, who are trying to compose tonal music, or somewhat tonal music, that does sound relatively palatable to the lay listener. However, others have the opinion that what's the point of doing that? Why write something that could have been written 100 years ago? I've had this many times. Not many times, but several times, people have said, look, this piece of yours I'm listening to, this could have been composed in 1905. And it's true, it could have been. But that's what I like to write, not 1905 specifically. I just like writing things with some melodies and harmonies that are related to the tonal system, not some absolute envelope-pushing, avant-garde, experimental stuff. That stuff can be great, but I'm not the person to write that stuff. So I don't know what to say, Dusk. It's not concluded, but the most popular classical small c composers are all dead, aren't they? They're all dead. It's all people are still loving, myself included. People still love Beethoven. They love Bach, right? Many, many composers from the past, those are the top names. I mean, the most famous composers now are often film composers, right? John Williams, Hans Zimmer. People often love their stuff, which is great. But this goes back to what you were saying, Bomfim Dism. They're all writing to do with stories, aren't they? They're accompanying stories. So do their pieces stand up on their own to listen to in the concert hall? Some people would say yes, but I would kind of say no, because they're written to be seen with visuals. They're great, right? Great film music is great film music, but it doesn't often stand up in the concert hall. I'm sure there are some exceptions, but yes, I hope that answered your question in a roundabout way. 2 minutes to go, for sure. 2 minutes to go. So any final remarks? You'd be a good atonal composer, would you, Dylan? Oh, maybe you would. I mean, you're laughing about it, but maybe that's right. Yeah, I'd never want to write a fully atonal piece myself. No, I wouldn't. I would touch on the atonal, but not for a whole piece. More comments. Christopher Larkin's soundtracks for the Team Cherry games are absolutely good enough to be enjoyed on their own. Okay. I'm not familiar with that at all. I'm not familiar with his work. I'll have to check it out, Dusk. Christopher Larkin. I'll make a note of that right now with a pen on a piece of paper. Christopher Larkin. Team Cherry games. No, I'm not a gamer, so I'm not in that world at all. Team Cherry games. This is the last question from Bomfimdism. Was there any major composer that wasn't heavily criticized in its own time? Was there someone who actually pleased everyone or almost everyone? I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert in music history. I'd say doubtfully, right? Um, I've got this wonderful book. I don't know if you've seen. I've done a few recent YouTube videos of sharing some of the worst reviews composers have ever got in the past. I think every major composer has had some people who hated their music, right? Here's the book. The Lexicon of Musical Invective. It's a wonderful repository of terribly awful reviews from critics of the past, criticizing everyone from Wagner, Stravinsky, Strauss, Sibelius, Shostakovich, Schoenberg, Puccini, Mussorgsky, Liszt, Gershwin, Debussy, Copland, Brahms, Berlioz, Beethoven. So there's always someone out there who's not going to like what you're doing, right? So there we go. There'll always be someone. I doubt there's any major composer who's pleased absolutely everybody. If you do please everyone, you're probably in a way pleasing no one. You know, you might be someone who's like, oh yeah, this is fine, right? This music's fine. You can't criticize it really, but it's also very bland. So you can't. I think it's no bad thing to get half the world hating your stuff, but half the world loving your stuff, right? Would you prefer 1,000 people to think your stuff is it's all right, it's okay, or would you prefer 20 people to be absolutely passionate and think your stuff's so incredible? I prefer the latter. You know, I'd prefer that small little cohorts of disciples who think your stuff is the best thing since sliced bread, rather than 1,000 people in a sea of ambivalence. On that note, I'm going to go now. Thank you for you all for being here. It's been lovely. Especially thank you to Dylan for being here for the whole time, but also thank you to Dusk, to DAC, DAC, and to Bombfimdism as well. I might do another one of these, probably not for a week or two, and I'll think hard about the time of day. Yeah. Be nice to get the kind of time of day that people can do. It's hard being across the world, but yeah. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day and evening. Listen to some great music. Keep in touch. And goodbye. Ta-ta for now.